It's as if she's got a hotline to your head. She climbs inside your mind, she rummages round, finds all those piles of messy, feely thoughts, even the ones in the darkest corners, and then she heads for your heart. Donna Ashworth is she, and she joins me now from central Scotland. Hello, Donna.
Hello, Susan.
You are a poet, a writer, absolutely heart-crackingly spellbinding poet, I have to add.
Oh,
I I am just so amazed at how you turn everyday thoughts in and tap into the cultural zeitgeist of the moment. It's quite amazing how you do it with such simple complexity. How do you do it?
well, thank you, first of all. That's ever so kind of you. How do I do it? I write down what I think and how I'm feeling and how I'm perceiving the world around me at that moment in time. And it just so happens that there are so many like-minded individuals out there who it resonates with on the same level. We're also similar under the top few layers of what we do for a living and where in the world we are and how old we are. Women have so much in common in so many ways. And it's not that I am super clever and tuning into every woman. It's just that I am saying my feelings and out it goes and comes back to me in resonance.
Yes, and it resonates so widely, and not just for women, although I noticed on your website you say that you write about life and loss and love and grief and womanity.
Yeah.
And that's your little twist on humanity, huh?
Yeah, it was actually a friend of mine, Lou, who said it to me in a chat one day, and I said, "Okay, I like that word." Um, I guess there are some. Obviously, men can read the things that I write and relate to it absolutely, especially when it comes to grief and getting through the day-to-day machinations. But I know what it's like to be a woman in this world, and it's these things that face me as a woman that caused me struggle. So I wanted to reach out to all the other women and see if just by chance they felt the same. And I could sort of put my hand up and say, I feel like this, anybody else? And so I very much wanted to talk to women.
And you certainly do. As I said, hotline. I mean, it sizzles. And you're so prolific. And we're going to, I mean, I just want, to be honest, when I thought about having you on, I thought, well, let's just get her in vision and say, go. And then you could read your poetry back to back to back to back. And that would be thrilling for everyone. Everyone would, have the full range of emotions connecting with you because it sparks so many feelings. And your writing is stunning. And it stuns because it is so sophisticated yet simple. So before we proceed any further, let's go to a little something I found on your website, which just will speak to loads of women, especially those in the big middle years, which I loosely define as, early 40s to mid
Yeah.
70s. And it's become a little bit of a ritual for me. Even before I boil the kettle for my black coffee in the morning and head to the garden, I'm now looking at your website
Oh,
because you write a new poem every day, more of which later. I'm looking and finding it, and I found this one this morning. You posted it yesterday. It's called "So Old," and I'd like you to read it for us.
I certainly will. You're so old, they say, and I laugh with a deep roar rising up from my very soul, because how could that phrase ever be anything but magnificent? She let herself go, they cry, and I smile with every tooth in my head, because Mother Nature and I know what a miraculous act letting go truly is. You've changed, they say, and I am at once completely fulfilled and at peace with my life's purpose. Because if I did not come here to grow, my friend, then what was it all for?
Oh, I just love it so much. I mean, you're 47.
Yeah,
I'm 64. I felt all of those feelings.
yeah,
And it's why I started the big middle because I went, hang on a minute, things are changing. This isn't just menopause, postmenopause is another thing. But this wisdom about the magnificence of keeping alive. I always hate to say aging because really it's
Yeah,
just living, isn't
yeah,
it? It's
exactly.
just carrying on, breathing, enjoying the beautiful moments that we get every
Yeah,
day.
we're existing.
Yeah.
We're not
And
doing anything actively to age. We are just living as we so very much should.
yes, and I've experienced so much loss in my life. And this is where I come from, and you very much, everything that you write resonates with me because it does tap into the magnificence of life. We must celebrate it. We must embrace every single day. I mean, not in a doolally, oh, I'm always
No.
incredibly toxically positive,
Hmm.
but but just we are so lucky to be able to wake
Yeah.
up and move our limbs and stretch and go for a walk and pet a cat or a dog, just all the small things in life which become so much greater in their intensity, I think,
Yeah.
as we keep on trucking, to borrow a
Yeah.
phrase from the 60s or 70s, whatever it was. I mean, what though does this wisdom spring from? Because as I said, you're 47,
Yeah.
you're only in your fifth decade, and you seem to have a set of experiences or observations that are, I would expect, from an older person.
Yeah, I mean, I get asked this question a lot, and there's no real easy answer to it. I've always been like this. When I was a child, I worried about things that children should not be worrying about. And I tend to project way ahead into the future. I'm very anxious. I've always been oversensitive, an overthinker, over emotional, all the overs, as I always say. And so I've had to learn how to combat that in order to survive everyday life. I'm one of these people that finds everyday life difficult, not the big things. I'm quite good with the big things, but the small things, the sticking at things, the routine, the continuation, the constant treadmill that we place ourselves on in this life. And I have always looked at the big picture and said, what is it all about? Why? I need a reason why. And so I started getting older in my 20s. I started worrying about getting older so early that I thought, you know what? I ruined my teenage years with all these anxieties and terrible self esteem. And I am not letting it happen throughout the next phases of my life. I am going to find out how and enjoy it. I am not going to look back. I am not going to look at the people coming up and say, I wish I was you. I don't want to
Yes.
feel like that. I want to keep saying, I am glad that I am here. And I am looking for all the positives in the situation that I'm in now. So it's
It's
not a natural ability to be positive. It's very much it's deliberate.
yeah, it's deliberate, intentional, and you decided, okay, these are my failings. And from what I understand it from the chats we had before we opened up the mics, this was something that really came to the fore during lockdown. Before that, you maybe you were still an overthinker, but you'd get into those traps of compare and despair. And at
Yeah.
the schoolyard gates, self-esteem would take a
Yeah.
whack because you would perceive someone else as having more.
Yeah.
And then what you write about is that in general, your message is you're magnificent, you're
Yeah.
enough. I mean, if I had to sum up your messages, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself, embrace your
Absolutely.
age, embrace everything about you.
Absolutely.
And
And
we as women,
nobody,
yeah,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
on. Nobody actually feels enough. Even the people who you could not imagine possibly having any insecurities, they have exactly the same thoughts at the end of every day. Did I do enough? Was I enough? Did this person like me? I am a good enough parent. Am I a good friend? Am I a good wife? And if we learned that early on, that we all feel exactly the same, and if we said it to each other and actually put it out there and shone a light on it, it would take away so much pressure.
It's
And women
true.
would become so unstoppable because there would be no pitting us against each other in the workplace or in any kind of environment. We would look at each other and say, oh, we have got this and I've got you. And it would be a much easier ride. And I think that's what I was searching for when I reached out to the women of the world.
Yes. And the women of the world, they have responded, they have reacted, and they are lapping up your every word.
It's
Now,
so
I just want to,
wonderful.
it's true. I'm just stunned because I've watched you. I first came across you on Facebook and I thought, wow, that's some powerful stuff. And then I got dragged into, other areas of exploration for the podcast, talking to, cog neuroscientists. And
Yeah.
anyway, which is fantastic as well. But I just want to say, I was arrested by what the photo, the woman that you've got. Do you know Helena Norovitz? Do you know the woman whose photo you use
No,
in?
I don't know her. I know who you
Right.
mean. Yeah.
Okay. Because the one that we started out with, so old,
Yeah.
if people would like to go to your website, it's donnaashworthwords.com.
Yes. DonnaAshworth.com. Yeah.
donnaashworth.com, and on Facebook it's Donna Ashworth
That's
Words,
correct.
and
Yeah.
you'll see the photo, and it's the photo that is just fabulous. She's fierce and
Yeah,
wonderful
I know.
and not apologetic about
Yeah.
all of her gorgeous markers of life etched into her face.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. And there's another arresting photo on a poem I want you to read next. It's called Don't Prioritize Your Looks. If you could give us that one, that would be
I
fantastic.
certainly can. Don't prioritize your looks, my friend. They won't last the journey. Your sense of humor, though, will only get better with age. Your intuition will grow and expand like a majestic cloak of wisdom. Your ability to choose your battles will be fine tuned to perfection. Your capacity for stillness, for living in the now, will blossom. Your desire to live each and every moment will transcend all other wants. Your instinct for knowing what and who is worth your time will grow and flourish like ivy on a castle wall. Don't prioritize your looks, my friend. They will change forevermore. That pursuit is one of much sadness and disappointment. Prioritize instead the uniqueness that makes you you, and the invisible magnet that draws in other like minded souls to dance in your orbit. These are the things which will only get better.
It's so beautiful. And oh, it's just gorgeous.
Thank
And
you.
again, it's the wisdom that comes through, the ability to take everything that we tend to end up getting all angsty about, all of us, because of the judgments of society and the social script and the artifice that is applied to that script, and we're all meant to be jumping through the same hoops. It's just so resonant for everyone. And speaking of that, this is something that it flew around the internet as recently as this week, and it was attributed to Dame Judi Dench. So
Yes.
I was on LinkedIn saying to everybody, "Oh, hang on a minute, that's Donna, that's pure Donna," and calling people up on it, and they say, "Oh, it doesn't matter who wrote it, it's just as inspirational." And the journalist in me, I'm all about
It does
attribution.
matter.
And I thought, hang on a minute, Judi Dench is an amazing
Yeah.
actor. You're supposed to call them actors now, but also, if it's your words and this is your artistry and your creation. So I kept poking at everyone who's posting and saying, no, 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 and those aren't her words. This is Donna, and here's a link to her page, and so hopefully even more people will discover. But this
Yeah.
isn't the first time this has happened, where things fly around and misattributed to someone
Yeah.
else.
I mean, it's the downside of the internet, because once you put your words out there, they're available for anybody to copy and paste and do whatever they like with it. But at the same time, I would not have a published book if it had not been for social media and Facebook. So I am somebody whose career was completely built on the power of social media. So I cannot therefore turn around and say it's awful when, the misappropriation occurs, because it's just part of the risk, but there is so much more gain. Um, this time, however, I did quite enjoy it, because it's Judi Dench, who I admire hugely,
Mm.
and it was quite fun for me to see it fly around and see people tag me. I think a lot of people recognise my work now. Back in the beginning, it was a big fight to get my name attached to something. But now I've got some wonderful followers who, just like you did, look out for me and tag me and say, here you are. So,
Well,
um,
you've also got some screen stars, thinking Michael Sheen and
yes,
Vicky McClure.
yeah,
They've read your stuff
they
for
did.
various
Yeah,
venues.
yeah,
Tell
yeah,
me about how that all happened, because your poetry and your observations and your wisdom went wild during lockdown. I mean,
yeah,
some poems went viral, and that
yeah,
really put you on the creative
yeah,
map. Tell us
totally.
how that all came to be.
So, I mean, like everybody else in the lockdown, I thought, how am I going to survive this? You know, it's a struggle for me anyway in life, never mind when huge, crises occur. I thought I need a plan to get through this. So I became a volunteer, and I thought I am going to really ramp up my writing every day. I'm going to post something every day to try and help other people, because we all flocked to social media, didn't we, to connect, because we had no other way. People were searching for words, and here was I sitting there with words. So it was as though somebody came down and handed me a giant gift and said, okay, off you go. So I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And then one day I woke up and I wrote History Will Remember, and it just flew. But it flew in a different way. It was picked up by the NHS, it was picked up by the doctors in America, the mayor of Chicago. It was printed in thousands of yearbooks in America. It was on the English curriculum in the UK. And then one day I opened up my phone and someone had tagged me in a video recorded, and Michael Sheen read out the first couple of lines, and then it moved on to Griff Rhys-Jones and some really famous people. It was a Welsh charity video, and I was gobsmacked. I nearly dropped my phone. In fact, I did drop my phone, because you don't know these
Screen
things are
smash.
happening.
Yeah,
Nobody tells you.
absolutely. No, absolutely.
Uh,
But your writing is that powerful. And it is, I keep using the same descriptors, but it is stunning in its
oh,
simplicity.
thank
And
you.
I mean, look, before we go any further though, let's hear that one that
Okay.
really took off and everybody was grabbing onto it. And Amnesty International as well, I
Yes,
understand.
that
I
was
mean, so many
such.
organizations just said this speaks to us.
I know. They contacted me and said, may we print this and send it out across the world to our subscribers. And I've got that, and I've got that framed, that poem
Oh.
with Amnesty. It's on a yellow shiny piece of card, and I was just so proud, as you can imagine.
Oh, I can. And I mean, it's such a phenomenon. So let's hear that one. This is History Will Remember When the World Stopped.
History will remember when the world stopped, and the flights stayed on the ground, and the cars parked in the street, and the trains didn't run. History will remember when the schools closed and the children stayed indoors, and the medical staff walked towards the fire and they didn't run. History will remember when the people sang on their balconies in isolation, but so very much together in courage and song. History will remember when the people fought for their old and their weak, protected the vulnerable by doing nothing at all. History will remember when the virus left and the houses opened and the people came out and hugged and kissed and started again, kinder than before.
My heart is exploding. It's so happy.
And
It's
that was
beautiful,
right in the
beautiful,
beginning
Donna.
when we knew we didn't know how this was going to end. So I think it just gave a tiny little bit of hope that actually this could make everybody kinder, and there could be something, and we were clinging on to anything that gave us hope, like a little life raft. So I think that's why it resonated at the time.
What what I want to know as well, you wake up in the morning and this is just stream of consciousness. This is
Yeah.
the first thing you do. So do you grab a coffee and go to take your laptop to the garden? Or
No.
I really want to get a pillow, wake up, and then all of this just streams forth from you?
My husband brings me a coffee every morning because he's the early bird in our house. He gets up super early. And the first thing that I do, which a lot of people will tell you not to do at the start of the day, is open up your iPad and look at social media and work, because you should take stock of the day and be present. But for me, I think a lot of my work is delivered through the night, and I say delivered because it tends to come in one piece. Um, and it always has. I used to be a singer songwriter when I was younger, and the songs always came in one piece. I never sat and worked them out or thought, where can this go? It's always, I used to say, like getting a fax. Obviously,
Seriously.
that's something in the past now, fax machines. So out they come. And that's how I do it. And it's always been how I've done it. And I made a deal with myself early on that I would not overwork the pieces judge them. I don't even grammar check them particularly or spell check them. That comes in time when they go into an actual book.
Oh, your
That
mind is a fascinating place then, because
it's a
this
busy
is
place.
no, but this is stunning stuff to then pour forth with it on the same day. You wake up and you're not, getting up at 2 and then at 4 and revising and tweaking and putting
No,
another
never.
thought in a journal or a post-it note, because
Yeah,
this is, we are told, the creative process for many people,
yeah.
who are writing books, and you're told, oh, throw out your first draft. And these are all your first drafts.
All, every single one. And so much so that I have made mistakes before, and my lovely readers will let me know quite quickly.
Like a
And I
factual mistake or a typo.
no, grammatically or spelling, because I don't check it very well because it's so emotional and it's so for me it's about the imagery rather than here is I'm going to deliver you a perfect piece of writing. This is about me trying to get a reaction in somebody, not trying to get a reaction but trying to create a connection with somebody else. So I knew that
It's
it's
pure,
it's
and
pure,
it's
and
raw.
I'm an overthinker, as I said. So to start analysing it would be a huge mistake. I would ruin it. I would strip it apart. And so that has worked for me and I've stuck with it. I've stuck with it.
And you've got how many books now? I know you've got a
Four.
trilogy coming. You've got 4 books.
Yeah. And I've
And
just
they're
finished 3 more that are coming out together.
and this is
So,
all us climbing into your mind and you bringing out what used to be songs. And the thing is there much different? You told me that you found a diary
yeah.
uh, that you wrote as a 16-year-old. And was this when you were smithing songs, or you thought they were songs, but they were actually more like
This was
the
before
material of
songs.
now?
And it was before I started writing songs. And I found the diary only 10 days ago. My mum and dad are moving, and I found the box. And it was full of poetry. And I sent some screenshots to my best friend, and she was amazed because it looks exactly like the poetry that I write now, and it sounds exactly like the poetry that I write now, a little more immature. But I had completely forgotten that I did that. I'd completely forgotten that. So it must just, I've always known the way my mind works. I've always got a mind full of, script to, if anybody cares to listen, out it comes. But I didn't remember that I was writing it down all the time.
So you don't plant a seed the night before and then let it ruminate while you're sleeping and hopefully deep sleeping and dreaming. So it's nothing like you decide the night before, okay, tomorrow I'm going to write about my friend Joe and how I'm feeling about
No,
whatever
I
happened
don't.
to Joe.
I don't think about it at all. And occasionally somebody will ask me to write something. In fact, it's been quite a lot recently. People will ask me to write about a certain subject or a bespoke poem. And, I like to do that as well. I find that quite a fun thing to do with a theme that someone's given me. But I try not to put any pressure on myself. If there is something there ready to come out it comes. And if there isn't, I will go through, answer some comments, and do some nice responses to people instead, and use the process that way. And I won't punish myself for not writing, or you didn't do a poem today, or anything like that. The whole point was to take the pressure off entirely. Otherwise, it would not have longevity for me. I would reach a point and I would max out, like you said earlier.
And
That's
you'd
how.
resent it as well. You'd resent
Yeah,
that you'd set this deadline for yourself
yeah,
and you'd set this threshold of achievement, which is huge, daily delivery of
yeah,
new thoughts that are resonant all around the world, tapping
yeah.
into the cultural zeitgeist. I mean, it's a huge ask if you apply all that pressure on
It is.
yourself.
And it's only me, there's nobody else. I mean, now I have a publisher, which is a new experience. I have somebody to talk to and sound off against, and that's great. But I've been sitting down writing these 3 new books, so maybe 15 to 20 poems in a day sometimes. And I have enjoyed that as well, because once I'm in this little room and I'm in the zone, and I sit and think about the world and how people are feeling about things, it's really quite indulgent. Um,
It's
and
your alone time, your
yeah,
solitude,
yeah.
and your creativity. But does it always have to be that room, or do you go to a favorite garden bench or a
No, never
favorite walk?
outside.
Oh,
I could
really?
never work outside. I don't ask me why. I've no idea. But I like to come into this room, and I like to go into my bedroom, my little haven in my bedroom. My husband laughs at me because I sit in my bed with my iPad, and he says, I wonder if your readers would find that very glamorous. I just sit there, tip tap, tip tap. It's not glamorous, but
Depends on
it's
which
a happy
jammies I'm wearing,
place.
honey. Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
happy place. It's how I
Oh,
enjoy
it's
it.
lovely.
I'm quite a homebody. I'm not somebody that needs an awful lot to do every day. Quiet life for me.
I know I'm exactly the same. I always say I'm an ambivert, but I think I'm pretty much an introvert. I mean, I am never bored. There's always stuff going on in my head, things to
Yeah,
do that way. Or as I get older, and this is maybe, I listen to a lot of woman podcasters. They're in their early 40s and they're twisting and they're still falling into that trap of compare and despair. And it really is liberating when you get older and you're at peace with yourself and
yeah,
you realize that moonshot over there might not happen, and so what?
yeah.
You are becalmed and contented and make every day count, but release yourself of this pressure to kind of, I don't know, constantly be in performative antics mode, showing and comparing and revealing and doing what other people might expect. I mean, there's a calmness that definitely descends. I'm 64 now, so it's new for me because I've
Yeah.
always been hard charging and expecting a lot, demanding a
Yeah.
lot from myself, and it's a whole new way of being.
I think people are so afraid to step off the treadmill because it took so long to get that treadmill up to that speed. And once you're up at that speed, you have to maintain it. And, it's a terrifying prospect to step off and take a break. And then what if I can't get back up to speed? What if everybody else is ahead of me? And I understand that entirely, but what the lockdown did is it leveled the playing field for everybody. We all had to stop. There was no choice. There was no running forward ahead of everybody. There was no, oh, look at the life I'm living in the next 6 months. None of that. It was a
Yes.
leveler. And I saw that as such a huge opportunity to reevaluate everything in our life and change it
Yeah.
and see why are we doing this? Because it's what we were told you should be doing. It's what everybody else is doing. But why are we doing it? Does it suit us? Do we like it? Does it work for us as a family? No, actually, we like to. So we changed everything.
Well, you
Uh,
moved as well from
we,
Manchester
we
to
changed
central
schools,
Scotland.
we changed lifestyle, we changed countries, we changed the practices that we have within our house, we changed the routines, we changed the rules, and we started questioning why do we have that rule? Why? Um,
Example, please.
well, so for example, everybody must sit down and eat dinner together as a family 6 nights a week because this is what you need to do. And actually, I turned around and looked at that and I thought, why? Let's look at this. Let's look at this for our children long term. Let's see, why they need to have great table manners. They need to be able to sit down and socialize. Absolutely. But that's a very specific thing. If somebody in our house doesn't want to do that because they've had a very stressful day or then absolutely fine. Nobody needs to be offended about it. Nothing's it's the simple things that we made sure that we were covering the base of what you need and what rules have just been put in place before us that we've ran with because they were there. um, and I probably could think of much better examples if I thought about it, but it
Yeah.
literally just came into my head. But
No, but
we've changed everything and we're
again,
all
there you
much
go,
happier.
resonating with all of us. Yeah, you're much happier where you are, and I think anyone who's reflected, and I think there must be 2.5 people in the world who haven't had cause to reflect during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's accelerated this process of looking inward and deciding, no, I'm done with that.
yeah,
I'm not doing that. I mean, they talk in the U.S. less so here about the Great Resignation, and it's it used to be downshifting in the 60s
yeah.
and 70s. They called it that. Just not completely dropping out and going off grid, but literally just taking stock, reassessing, finding your values again, meeting them, greeting them, reacquainting yourself with them and saying, no, I'm not jumping through those hoops. I'm not
No,
taking a 2.5 hour commute to get to some godforsaken office with unnatural light and a grouchy boss.
yeah.
I'm out of there, mate. I'm out. So, it's the upside of this pandemic.
And
It's
when you
caused us
think
all to.
about the stress that commute would put on you every day, and the amount of energy it took from you, and the amount of creative, light that it sapped from you, when we took out that commute, and we always had a feeling that it was unnecessary, but there was no proof. There was no, we had no backup. And then the lockdown happened and we saw, wait a minute, I knew it. I knew I didn't have to do this every day and I could still be useful and I could still be relevant and I could still do my job, but I don't have to fight this, this chaos every day, this jungle of life.
Yeah.
And it empowered us. It was like, I told you so. And,
Yes,
and now I'm
absolutely.
very
There was so
picky
much
about,
corporate, yeah, there was so
yeah,
much corporate resistance before the pandemic accelerated everything in that
which
direction. And
mostly affected women. It was mostly women damaged by that because we cannot show up at all times. We just can't. We can't do that. And, we have to take more time to do all the other things. And now we know that that's all right. And, we don't lose respect for that. And I see that happening more and more. And I hope it continues to rise because
yeah,
women should not have to feel less relevant than the men in the workplace because they have more responsibilities at home or because they have perhaps the menopause or emotions that may interfere on a daily basis. You can still be emotional and respected. You can still be emotional and professional, and I think these are all the things that the lockdown really helped us see.
well,
um,
the patriarchy writ large, it's been an uneven landscape for women for ever so long.
yeah,
And now, we've got the wave of menopause warriors. I've done several things on this as well.
yeah,
We're using our voices. And it's so funny because a lot of supposed people in their 40s say, oh, why aren't women talking about this? And I think, well, I'm in my early 60s and we've been talking about it. We've been amplifying the messages around this for a very long
yeah,
time. But it's great that there's now momentum behind it in all directions. People
yeah,
that are coming in your 47 perimenopausal, they're being told and educating themselves about the symptoms and how their lives might shift. And even before, in your 30s, you've got two children. I know you shared a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old and
yeah,
a husband who's working, but we don't want disappeared husbands who get up at 6 and leave at 6:05 and don't come back until 10 at night.
yeah.
This is not a recipe for well-being for
No,
anyone.
no. And that's what we said no to in the lockdown. And we had a business and we sold it. And now we both work we've always worked for ourselves, but we work for ourselves in a much more relaxed way now. And what a difference it's made. I mean, I'm really grateful that we were able to do it. And it's not easy, but if you can see a way to do something that gives you that power to control your own time, or if you can find a way to control your own time within the job that you do, then it's worth fighting for because what a difference it makes. It
Yeah,
makes all the difference.
absolutely. Well, I'm living that life now and I'm not making near as much money as I used to, but I mean, the happiness, the relative happiness, the degree of contentment is off the charts. It's
Yeah,
off the scale because I'm such a homebody. I love doing a load of laundry and hanging it in the
yeah,
sun while I do emails.
yeah.
I'm so much happier doing that or running to the
Exactly.
shops when I need to or planning it. And just, I swim every day, pretty much every day.
Yeah,
And carving out the time for that is
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
And when did you, I just remember when I was heading to Canary Wharf, I used to be international news journalist, I'd race and do these programs. It would be 14 hours a day minimum.
yeah,
And then the commute could be longer. There could be a train strike. There could be this. And you would go home. You were absolutely bone tired. And you'd have to get suited and booted and made up for the camera again the next day and have all of your editorial thoughts lined up, ducks in a row
yeah.
to
Gosh.
perform the job. And the thing is too in TV news, I mean, you can't fumble the ball. You can fumble it once, but not thrice.
Yeah,
Because there's a
yeah,
big lineup around the building for your job. So, I mean, all of that pressure when you're doing your own thing, when you've got autonomy, it is, I think, the greatest invaluable freedom. It's
yeah.
your health and the freedom to do your own thing. I think they're on a par.
Yeah. And I think, that this quest for money and the constant quest to have more and have better, have bigger. Oh, we've got a lovely house. Let's get a bigger one. Oh, we've got two amazing cars. Great. Oh, I'm earning all this. But then if you do not have the time to enjoy your money and you can't even go on holiday because the stress of the job is constantly with you and you can't, then what is it that you're building? What is it that you're trying to achieve? It's more of a prison than anything else. I think the higher up in your field that you get and the more money that you make can, you know, it starts to become a cage. So we,
Absolutely. And it's,
we
I
just
mean,
wanted to
anyone,
come off it. We just wanted to come off the treadmill and say, we need money and we would like enough money and we would like more than enough money. That would be nice, but we don't want to sacrifice this, and this to have that. And we want to be able to enjoy the money that we do have if we have money. And
yeah,
that was my,
deploy it how you want. And also it instills the best values in your children. You're role modeling all the time for them. And they're seeing that you're not going for the faster car and the huge house that you don't need. I mean,
yeah,
we are living on a melting planet.
yeah,
We have to all learn to be less acquisitive,
I
less
know.
aspirational. These manufactured needs that society keeps telling us. I mean, I those messages just wash off me now.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too.
I'm okay. I don't need that new dress. I don't need Prada, Prada, Gucci, Gucci
No,
anymore. I'm just fine, and
no, I never
it's
have.
so
And I,
liberating.
yeah, I've never, if I want something and it talks to my inner child, you know, the magpie in me, if I see something and oh, I love that. But I've never had a nice car. I've never had, I've always had a nice house, but any house is a nice house if you make it a nice house. And that's important to me because this is your kingdom. You know, you
Yes.
must feel happy in your kingdom. So I would put a lot of effort into my house, but I've never cared about diamond rings or diamond jewelry or designer bags or you know, shiny cars. We have
Yeah.
electric cars because why wouldn't you, if you know, if you're getting a car, get an electric car. And my husband will say, you know, what kind of new car do you want? And I'll just say this, you know, a nice electric one. But we never go for something that makes us look a certain way or
You're not showboating ever.
no, because that is a rocky, slippery path into something, you know, that will bring you more sadness than joy, I think. Because things are easily destroyed. You know, if you put
Absolutely.
your joy into something material, it's quite easily taken from you.
No, I mean, I was a comfort queen my entire life, always acquiring this, acquiring that, nesting. I mean, you're a nester like I am. I love getting the nicest feathers of my choice for my nest. But I
Yeah.
also, you know, I blew up my life and tried to live with my family. I'm a widow, and I went to be with my proxy daughter, who's my niece, who lives in Cape Town, who has beautiful children. And I tried to get a visa, and it was absolutely impossible because I'm an auntie and not her mother.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I gave it a good go, but breaking for the border every 90 days, which is ridiculous. It was so expensive. But, you know, the reason I tell you that is I never thought I'd be able to get rid of so many of my beautiful material possessions.
Yeah.
And literally, I reached a point where I made the decision. I said, oh, that's going to have to go. Hopes this finds a new home.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a beautiful pot. Well, somebody's going to really enjoy that second life. There's a gorgeous chair. And it's amazing how when you want something more that you attach more value to,
Yeah.
the relationships and the love of being with your family, your mindset completely shifts. And
Completely.
all of these material possessions become superfluous. You
Yeah.
know, you really don't
Yeah.
need them. Now, I want
Sure.
to learn. Well, first, I want another poem from you. You
Oh,
mentioned what if, what if, what if several times earlier, and it plays into what we were just talking about, that we are all enough and we have enough. Have you got that one ready?
which one? Sorry, my
What
fault.
if
No, I don't.
you don't?
I'm
I
so
found it on
sorry.
your. I found that's okay. It's on your website. I think it's in the home page. I'm not
It
sure which section.
is.
You've
And
got your laptop just there, don't you?
I'm trying to remember which, you know, I have 4 books and I did them all in 2 years. But
Well,
I
we
would
planned the
like,
first couple of poems. We were really good at that planning, and then we just thought, well, we're just going to
yeah.
busk
Well,
it.
we wanted it to be quite, we wanted it to flow quite organically, didn't we? And be quite authentic. But there is one I would like to read, if that's okay.
Okay.
And it's called As Time Goes By, which is a very similar premise to everything that we've been talking about.
Okay. Artist's choice. Go for it, Donna Ashworth.
As time goes by, you will learn to see yourself more clearly. The girl who was always too much of one thing and too little of another was actually everything she needed to be. Let her out. As time goes by, you will let the simple things become the big, and you will allow the big things to become the simple. And that readjustment will be the day you really start to live. Let it be. As time goes by, you will be forced to say goodbye many times, and your soft little heart will shatter, but it will still beat, and that will bring you all the purpose you need. Let it beat. As time goes by, you will stop choosing wealth over peace. You will stop choosing money over time, and you will see that the treasures you need are in the smiles and the laughter. Let them in. As time goes by, the moments you remember when your life flashes past are never the awful memories, my friend. It's the joy, the summer nights, the lazy days with loved ones, the midnight chats, and the morning hugs. Let them happen. Let them all happen.
It's gorgeous. Just such wise words that you pass along for everyone. That will resonate with so many people of whatever age. I mean, really, you are a fountain of knowledge and wisdom and
Oh,
stunning creativity. And there goes the
thank
same
you.
adjectives I trot out all the time. But really, Donna, I'm so appreciative of your work.
Oh,
And
me
I
too.
really am gobsmacked that you churn these out pretty much every day. Do you ever have a block? Do you ever wake up and think, I have nothing today, that's it? And you
Yeah,
don't, I would imagine, beat yourself up if that's
I don't,
the case.
and sometimes I'm a big believer in allowing yourself a bad day, allowing yourself a day to be the ugly version of yourself, because if you constantly try to be positive and be beautiful inside and out, you're going to hit a wall with it. And if I wake up in a narky, horrible mood, I do not allow myself to pass it on, but I allow myself to wallow in it for just a little bit of time, because what it does is it helps me indulge it and it helps me process it quicker. And I normally end up laughing at myself somewhere along the way. So on those days, I might not want to write at all, because what will come out will be angry or bitter, because we're only human. We have to get these feelings out, they have to be processed. But normally what I find is the day after a day like that, I will be full of, the feelings that I've processed and worked through will come out in a nice way. So yeah, there are
So you,
definitely days that I don't want to write.
so you listen to yourself and you're responsive to your emotions and you get in your happy place and sort yourself out and then you emerge
Yeah,
out of that liminal
absolutely.
space and you
Yeah.
become a butterfly again.
Yeah, I
Wonderful.
don't wake up positive every day, and I don't, it's a constant work in progress for me, and that's why I write about it so much, because I'm trying to constantly do it. And I
Yeah,
think if that helps me, maybe it will help someone else, and why not pass it on if it's of any use whatsoever?
absolutely. Now I'm scrolling. I've got my laptop just here and I'm just scrolling because I have another poem that I want you to read.
Well, I
Not
am
that
working from
one.
the
Hold on.
old-fashioned way. I am working from books.
Good. We
Um,
like to hear those pages turn.
and not my laptop. So I have all four of my books
You're
open.
not you're not imagining it. This was during the
Yes.
pandemic, February 2021, and I think it will again touch so many people even now. You
And
know,
this went viral. This went viral like
did it?
yesterday. Yeah. And when you hear it, you'll see why I was so surprised, because it's not a poem in poem format. It was just some thoughts that I threw down and went out, and it went completely viral worldwide. And magazine articles picked it up, and Glamour magazine and Grazia magazine and celebrities were posting it. And I was really shocked.
It's that hotline again. You just tapped into all of our heads.
But again,
And
we were all just searching for something to sum up the day, that particular day, because every day was a new adventure, wasn't it, in the
yeah,
lockdown?
absolutely. And
So,
and there's the consequences of it too. And I think we're all still feeling some sort of semblance of this. So take it away. This is you're
okay.
not imagining it from in the thick of lockdown, February 2021.
Yeah. You're not imagining it. Nobody seems to want to talk right now. Messages are brief and replies late. Talk of catch ups on Zoom are perpetually put on hold. Group chats are no longer pinging all night long. It's not you, it's everyone. We are spent. We have nothing left to say. We are tired of saying, I miss you and I cannot wait for this to end. So we mostly say nothing, put our heads down and get through each day. You're not imagining it. This is a state of being like no other we have ever known, because we are all going through it together, but so very far apart. Hang in there, my friend. When the mood strikes, send out all those messages and don't feel you have to apologize for being quiet. This is hard. No one is judging.
Love it. Love it. And no small wonder it went viral. Well, they all do. Pretty much everything you write ends up getting ahead of steam on it, flying around the internet several times, getting picked up by various people. I understand the latest is Johnny Depp.
Well, apparently, I haven't found it yet, but apparently he shared the Judi Dench.
Right.
But I haven't found it, so I'm assuming it's perhaps not his official page, because I think I would have seen it. But Miriam Margolyes did, and I'm a huge fan of hers. So when she shared it, I commented underneath and I said, I love you. And I love Judy. This is mine. But I love you.
Yeah. All good. All good. Fantastic.
Don't worry.
We want them to saturate the entire word, the words of Donna Ashworth. I want to go back, though, in your history a little bit, because, I mean, I could just end it now, and there's a couple of more poems that I'd love you to do, and we could go on and on and on. But I want you to tell me about your adventure in Baku, in Azerbaijan, because that's a little bit of exotica in your background that I wouldn't expect. I mean, you lived in Spain, you lived in Scotland, you lived in England, in Manchester, and then you told me just sort of as it goes, oh, yeah, and we lived in Azerbaijan for 5 years. Oh, okay. What brought you there? And I do want you to, if you wouldn't mind, throw in the story of the puppies.
Oh, I will. So we moved to Azerbaijan, my husband and I. We'd only met each other 6 months. So we had not been together very long, and we were a bit fed up of things here, the rat race again. And my parents had moved to Azerbaijan with the oil industry, with BP. And my dad rung and said, there is no magazine here for the expat community. And at the time, that's what I was doing. I was working on a magazine. So my husband was in film and TV. So we sold, we went, we bought an apartment, and we set up our businesses in a thriving expat community in an oil-rich city of Baku. And all the other expats there were under the umbrella of the company that they came out with. So BP, you know, the big companies. But we were just there on our own, you know, we had no evacuation plan in the event of things going wrong. Nobody came to save us.
And so this was early 2000s.
This was, I'm not actually sure. We talked about this, didn't we? About how we cannot place a date if somebody asks me.
We're both neurodefective in that way. Yeah, I'm terrible. I don't do things in timelines. And people are constantly saying, what year was that? And I'm going, I'd have to look through my emails to put a date on that.
You're right. You've got it right. It is, yeah. And so we set up our businesses, and it was fascinating and fabulous and difficult and terrifying and, you know, interesting. And we really immersed ourselves in the culture because all of our staff were Azerbaijani. I had the magazine, and my husband had a filmmaking company, you know, making health and safety videos. But we're animal lovers, and my mum is a big animal lover, and she had begun to take in stray cats and dogs. And very quickly, we all set up the first ever animal charity in Azerbaijan. Because there was a lot of poverty there. There was a lot of wealth and a lot of poverty, but, you know, and the animals were not looked after in the way that they are here. So we set up this charity, and it quickly took over our lives, and we were constantly being called to pick up cats and dogs here and there. And one night we were heading out to a New Year's Eve party, my husband and I, and it was snowing, and we walked past a dog in front of a bin, and she was distressed, and we opened the bin, and all her puppies were in the bin. So we took out the puppies, and we put them all down into a stairwell and settled them, and off we went into the snow to this New Year's Eve party. And we were half an hour there, and we looked at each other and we said, come on. Out we went. And my husband took off his scarf, put it around the mum dog's neck, and she thought we were trying to kidnap her, so she was not happy. And I picked up as many puppies as I could. There was 8. Or 7 perhaps, and we dragged the poor dog back in the snow, and I had all the puppies in my jacket and zipped up in my jumper and one in my bag, and we took them to our apartment. We put them we had all these big, dog carriers that we put them in with blankets, and we put them on the balcony with a heater. So they were really cozy and everything. But after 2 or 3 days, they started looking in the door at the
Oh.
sofa going, well, it's lovely here. We're so happy, but what's that? That looks amazing. So in they came, and we already had 4 cats. So
Oh,
we brought
wow.
we brought back 4 cats from Azerbaijan to the UK to
Well
spend
done,
there.
you.
But
Fantastic.
the animals that we saved went all over the world. They went with the staff from BP and all the big oil companies. They took them back with them. They
Of
went
course
to
they do. I took my
Switzerland.
cats to Cape
Yeah.
Town.
So
There was no
those,
way my family of furballs was going to be separated from me just
yeah.
because I wanted to move.
So they traveled all over the world, these stray cats and dogs from Baku. They went with the Swiss ambassador and some really wonderful people, took their pets home with them. So yeah, it was an adventure.
Oh,
We
that's
met
a
some
beautiful
wonderful
period of
people.
your life.
Yeah.
You met some wonderful
I
people.
think it taught us a lot as well. I think if you go and live in another culture and see how things are done completely differently day to day over a long period of time, it does teach you so much.
It sure does. And you mark the similarities as well, the differences and the similarities. And, you learn not to pit one nationality against another. I mean, I'm multicultural to the
Yeah,
core.
you
I
are.
come from Canada, and I've lived in France and Switzerland and Italy and Cape
Yeah,
Town, of course.
yeah, which is a
I think
lot.
it's really important. It's really important to expose yourself to different
Yeah,
cultures
yeah,
and realize, I mean, we're all just little specks dancing around the planet, trying to do our
hugely.
best, but some people aren't trying hard enough,
Yeah,
sadly.
yeah.
But listen, there is another poem that, again, I haven't given you a warning, but because I'm a widow and because I've lost my parents, and we've all suffered loss in our lives, various degrees, various forms of it. I don't want this to maybe be the last one, but I really don't want this podcast to finish before we hear you read I Walked. And
I
before
walked.
you read it, it's in the grief section on your website.
It is, and it's
It
in.
is. It's amazing.
It's in my new book, I Wish I Knew, which I have right here. So I shall just find it. If you can bear with me 1 second. There
If you
are
can scan for it while I ask you, is that for someone in particular, a particular loss you suffered?
No, this is about, for me, I mean, it can mean many things to many people. But for me, this is about taking the time with someone before they go.
Yes.
It can also mean the opposite, about how you can spend time with people when they are not physically with you. But anytime you want to, you can take a walk with that person and you can see through their eyes and hear the things that they would say to you. I really believe you can connect whenever you want to anyone who's gone. But for me, this was a reminder that take the time, take the time, take the time out of your day to spend that little bit of time whenever you can, because you just don't know when it's going to be your last. So
Absolutely.
I walked. I walked with you today. I took the longer way. I made some time to tell you all the things I didn't say. I spoke to you so softly, and so often tears just flowed. I let you know my secrets, the stories you were owed. I gave you all my heart as we walked the pretty way. I cared not for my timings or the schedule of my day. Instead, I lingered back, picking flowers for my hair. I showed you our old tree, but this time I stopped and stared. I walked with you today. I took the wilder path. I reminded you of all the times your antics made me laugh. I stopped to smell the roses as I should have done before. I seized that special moment and I wished and wished for more. I walked with you today, love, and with all my aching heart, I wish that I had not left it too late in life to start taking the long route, saying things I never say. I'm sorry that it took me far too long to walk this way.
I just love it. I mean, it's heart-catchingly beautiful.
I
It's
don't
just
think I've read that one before. How funny.
so powerful, so
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
And that
Thank
you
you.
dash these off, I think is almost a miracle. I can just
Yeah.
many poets and we chatted about this yesterday and we sort of had a pre-interview chat that that ended up being, hi, you're my new best friend. Hello.
I know,
It
we've
was
so much
lovely.
in
It was
common.
fantastic. Yeah, it was lovely. Two spirits meeting over a call, a WhatsApp chat. But
Yeah,
I just, I said to you, I've never really got poetry. I love
yeah,
prose. I'm an auditory learner. I love listening to the spoken word, speech radio. I'm addicted to speech radio in all of its different, podcasts,
yeah.
audiobooks, all of that. And I'm not good at clever poetry.
Hmm.
I'm not good. If you're going to have to make me do mental gymnastics to
Yeah,
understand the point you're making, I'm already over it and I'm onto
yeah, yeah,
something that I
yeah,
can
yeah,
understand, whether it's a failing in me, but I've never been good at that. And that's what I love about, sophisticated simplicity
yeah.
that you seem to churn out with such ease. And we're all so glad you're doing it. We
Yeah,
really are.
I'm completely with you on overthinking the poetry, because you've lost your emotion if you go into your brain. So for me, our brain is militant and it's constantly firing, and poetry is a chance to step out of that for a moment and go into your emotion, your soul, whatever it is you want to call it, go into a different part of you. So if you're having to use your brain to work it out, you're out of your soul, you're back into your brain. So simple, the right words in the right order at the right time. And so many people will tell me that they've never bought poetry until they bought mine. I've never bought poetry before, never. I buy poetry now because if somebody says they've written a poetry book, I will absolutely buy it. And I'm collecting them, over there. But I have never bought poetry before, so I totally understand that. I agree. It's not about the poetry as a subject, it's about what it brings to the person and what you achieve in that little 2 minutes that you gave yourself time to read something or listen to something that just sparks something that will then move on and create ripples all day long.
And you're so prolific. You're so good at it.
Oh,
I mean,
thank
I'm not just flanneling you nonstop, but it's quite an achievement to be able to churn out as many as you do that resonate on the same level. Pretty
you.
much everything you write deeply resonates, and it taps into the cultural zeitgeist, whatever it is. And what's fascinating to me is you're not thinking, okay, well that was in the news, so I'm going to write about that. You're not planting seeds all the time. Something within you needs to get out, and it just
Yeah,
happens sort of
yeah,
organically. It
yeah.
happens in a very pure,
It
authentic
does.
way.
And if I do write about something in the news, it's because I cannot keep it to myself. And most of the time, I pay a price for that, because if I choose to write something about a story that's happening that everyone is talking about, then I am going to attract into my lovely corner of the internet different people who just want to shout at me or disagree with me. And my page and my followers are so positive, and not positive in a la 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 way, but positive in a we're all just trying to heal, get better, get stronger, be happier, be more loving in life.
Yeah.
And so we don't sit there looking at ways to pull people down. But a lot of the other areas of the internet are very much like that. And it's almost a sport these days. How can I go on and cause an argument on this thread? So if
A
I have
sport of the lowest caliber. It's just horrible, the things that
when I
people
have
feel they can
commented,
say online.
I've written about the sort of the Will Smith goings on and the Johnny Depp and the Amber Heard. I know what happens when I do that, so I have to steel myself. So it means I'm really burning to talk about it.
Yeah. And it has to escape the way all of your beautiful
I
words
have to
escape.
say it.
Yeah. So, have you chosen, because we are busking this, have you chosen a final poem to gift to us?
I have. And
Great.
I haven't actually, but it's just appeared to me. So, and I like to go with my intuition, and somebody out there must need to hear it. Now, this is a poem that I think, this is a poem that Fern Cotton mentioned in her latest book and actually name checked me. And it really gave me such a boost to see it in writing in her book, that this sparked something in her, that sparked something that helped create that book.
Yeah, and
So
Fern Cotton, she's grown into her new role. She was a child TV star, Blue Peter, and then many,
Yeah.
many other things. It was before when I was living in Canada, but now she has a beautiful podcast and she's exploring, and she's written so many books, beautiful
She's
books.
written
So,
so many books and they are brilliant. And,
mm,
you know, she's constantly searching and growing and looking. And, you know, it's really wonderful to watch somebody do that and go
yes.
along the journey with them. It's, yeah,
I
she's,
need to binge on her podcast. I haven't been listening of late, but
yeah,
I know it's wonderful to witness her development,
yeah,
even over the course of her podcast, her introspection.
yeah,
She's an overthinker, but in the best possible ways,
yeah,
like you.
yeah.
You know, she goes deep, and that's lovely to see.
Yeah, no, I feel there's a lot of commonalities there actually. So this one is called Remember Her. Somewhere inside of you, there's a little firecracker with her arms folded and a frown on her face. She isn't happy about all the times you said no when you wanted to say yes, all the times you said yes when you wanted to say no. She wanted you to buy the ticket. She wanted you to take that trip. She definitely wanted you to take that risk, the one that may have just opened a whole new world. She wants you to remember what it feels like to run to the sea without a care in the world and splash and laugh until you ache. To face the day without a fear in your heart and embrace every opportunity that comes. She doesn't understand why you won't wear the swimsuit. She doesn't understand why you won't eat the cake. She doesn't understand why you don't let it go. She definitely doesn't understand why you accept second best. Somewhere inside, there is a little girl who wonders at the adult you've become. She still has many things she wants to learn and so many people still to meet. She still has food she'd like to taste and parties she wants to dance at. She still has places she wants to visit and wonders she wants to lose herself in. Somewhere inside of you, there is a little firecracker, desperate to see more of this thing we call life. Go get her. She's fun.
Oh, my word. All I thought about was my mother as
Oh,
you read that. And I lost her to ovarian cancer many years
oh, I'm
ago.
sorry.
And I'm almost in tears. That was very emotional. If you're
Yeah,
thinking about a particular human as you
yeah.
read that, it's just heart-stoppingly emotional. That's just beautiful, Donna. And I just keep saying that about everything you write because I really feel it. And
You're
it's
making me feel
you're
emotional.
no, but you're so gifted. That was
Thank
just
you.
stunning. And I just want to direct people. That was that from Life or
This
Loss,
is
one of the
from To the Women. So this is what I call my sort of first book, even though my first book was the pandemic poetry.
yeah.
This is the first book with my collection in it. It's called To the Women. And it has all what I like to call the big hitters, you know, the really big ones that the mantras that we need, you know, the words to live by. They're all in that book. And
This
then
is the Don't Prioritize Your Looks one as
no,
well.
that's actually the right words. That's my next book, the blue book.
Can't keep up
I
all these
know,
books.
I know. That's the right words. I have two.
Okay.
They've all got my post-its in them. Look,
Oh, that's where the post-its live, not by your bedside, but in your books.
so that I know
Okay.
where things are when I'm reading them out. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm glad that we left it to chance
yeah,
because I might not have discovered that one because
yeah,
I was into the night last night just lapping it up and I thought, oh, you've got to do your new sun cycle routine and try to get up early and try to go to bed early because
yeah.
I'm terrible. I can be such a night owl if I get on to, in something I like to do and I can just keep doing it until 4 in the morning
Yeah.
if I let myself. And that
But you
completely
know,
screws up the next day.
we're here to live. And I think that's the main message I'm constantly trying to remind people that we're not here to suffer. We're not
Yeah.
meant to be suffering. It's not meant to be a daily chore. We're
Yes.
not meant to tick everything off and suffer enough to lie in bed and go, oh, I've suffered enough today. That means I've had a good day. We're here to live and we're here to enjoy it. And we have to keep, especially women, we work so hard and do so much. We must remind ourselves constantly that we are people too and don't miss your own party because you're
No,
trying to.
absolutely. Demand your space at the party. Raise your voice if you need to get it, and find the joy and embrace it and love it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Donna, I just love you a lot. I think you're
I
fantastic.
love you too already.
I just honestly, we've had such deep conversations
I've
over the
only
last
known you
couple
a
of
day.
days. I know it's fantastic. So I want to direct people. Your trilogy is coming out. Life, Loss,
And
Love.
love. Yeah.
That's coming out when?
October, I think. It's scheduled for October the 1st, but we'll see. And I Wish I Knew is available right now. I'll just hold my post-its back.
Fantastic. And that's available at all good bookstores the world over.
It is, yeah.
Fantastic. And they can go to donnaashworth.com, your website, or Donna Ashworth Words on Facebook. You've got a
Yeah.
huge group there.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it's, multiple thousands of followers. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Such a lovely opportunity. I've enjoyed every moment.
And me. Thank you so much for all your gifts, Donna.
Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you very much.
Take care, go well, and see you soon. Bye-bye.